Crime and punishment is as old as human civilization. But incarceration as we know it today has only been around for about 2 centuries. Prison was largely just a place to hold defendants until trial and or administration of a punishment such as hanging, drying, and quartering, temporary confinement in the stocks or pillory, flogging, often in public, monetary fines, etc. Most pre-19th century prisons were dungeon-like facilities, spartan, often sanitary, dark, etc. Though noble and the wealthy prisoners could usually pay to get cushier conditions. Often this was in the kind of bedchambers they were used to, where they could have servants. All their main possessions. By the 18th century, debtors' prisons or debtors' jails had emerged. People could be incarcerated for failure to pay debt. Most inmates lived in deplorable conditions. But if an inmate was wealthy enough, they could purchase tolerable conditions. Everything in prison cost money at that point. Food, clothes, rent on your cell, etc. And prisons became quite profitable institutions. Sometimes conditions became so crowded that authorities resorted to using derelict battleships called hulks. Such hulks were also used to transport prisoners to penal colonies. The European powers of Britain and France sent their criminals to their most remote colonies in totally inhospitable locations where they were subject to forced labor. Devil's Island, etc. especially became notoriously inhumane. In the Victorian period, the modern prison emerged. The new moralist movements and other ideologies led to the Victorians reforming prison. New imprisonment was the most common punishment, and two systems emerged: the Pennsylvania model, or separate system, and the Auburn model, congregate system. The separate system was an extreme form of solitary confinement. Inmates were allowed very, very little human contact or interaction. During the relative few times prisoners were let out of their cells, they were hooded and otherwise prevented from interacting with one another. The isolation continued into the chapel, where separate cubicles or stalls, as shown here, were used. The congregate system involved the prisoners eating, working, and worshipping together. But a strict silence policy was enacted. No talking was allowed unless spoken to by a god or some other official. Strict discipline was enforced. Every aspect of life was micromanaged to the most minute of details, and the overall system was designed to turn inmates into hard-working, obedient citizens. The work could be pointless, such as walking on a treadmill or turning a crank attached to a box. Sometimes, however, the labor was useful, such as breaking rocks to pave roads. Revolutionary prison architecture was conceptualized, such as the panopticon, a cylindrical prison building with all cells circling is a central T-word. The surveillance involved in the guards looking at each of the cells was to get prisoners policing themselves.